What if the reality we perceive, the skeletal structure of the cosmos, and the matter we touch were nothing more than the condensation of a primordial sound? What if the difference between mere babbling and a decree capable of shaping destiny lay solely in the activation of a forgotten frequency? This is not a metaphorical meditation, but a critical inquiry into the hidden physics of language. For millennia, humankind has used its voice to describe the world, but the initiate, the knower of arcane laws, understands that the voice was given in the first instance to create it. You now stand on the threshold of a revelation that will dismantle the profane understanding of speech, the one that reduces it to a mere instrument of social communication. I promise you that, at the end of this journey, you will understand why the ancient scriptures of every civilization, from Genesis to the Vedas, agree that existence began with an audible vibration, with a command, the Logos. We are here to transcend the barrier of physical hearing and access the knowledge of cymatics, the science that allows us to see the intrinsic form of sound and the wisdom of the Logos, the divine code activated through pure intention and emotional coherence. Prepare your consciousness to receive the operating manual for manifestation, the roadmap that explains how the frequency of your larynx becomes the silent architect of your experience. Truth is an electrical current, and your word is the master switch that ignites it. I will show you that you can not only speak about reality, but you can speak to reality, compelling it to obey the inherent geometry in your tone and intention. The promise I make to you is not merely one of intellectual knowledge, but of existential sovereignty, the sovereignty to speak as if you were a co-creator, to alter the very fabric of your material experience through frequency mastery. This path demands commitment and openness. Therefore, before descending into the depths of the first mystery, I ask you to activate resonance with this teaching. Let this gesture be an initial decree, a test of intention. Grant me your resonance signal. Subscribe to this stream of knowledge to ensure your belonging to revealed truth, and manifest now in the digital ether the simple yet powerful affirmation: I seek the truth. Only then will the door of the Logos open for you. The word Logos, in its deepest and most archaic sense, is not merely translated as word or reason, but as the universal ordering principle, the structuring intelligence that underlies all phenomenal manifestation. It is the primordial vibratory substance that, when emitted, projects geometric patterns of density that we know as matter. The Logos, as conceived by Heraclitus and the Hermetic tradition, is the immutable law that governs flux and change, and its most accessible expression for humankind is the voice. When sacred scripture states, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God," it is outlining a cosmogony where sound is not a byproduct of energy, but its efficient cause. Our voice, in its purest state, uncontaminated by ego or doubt, is an atomic residue of that foundational word, a tool of transduction capable of transforming abstract intention, the divine mind, into tangible form. To ignore the Logos is to relegate our creative capacity to chance. To understand it is to reclaim the scepter of our vibrational sovereignty, recognizing that every syllable uttered is an executive order directed to the holographic universe, instructing quantum particles on how they must group together to form the immediate reality we will experience. Human language, despite its apparent fragmentation and modern degeneration, still possesses the latent structure of manifestation codes. Each phoneme, each vowel and consonant, represents a specific position of the larynx, tongue, and palate which, when articulated, generates an observable geometric form on the cymatic plane, as we shall see. This phonetic matrix is not arbitrary. It is a coding system designed to interact with the electromagnetic grid that envelops the planet. Mantras, The divine names of power, such as the Tetragrammaton or Om, are not mere ritual repetitions, but acoustic algebraic formulas that force the unified field to reorganize itself according to the vibrational specifications of the emitted sound. When we pronounce a word, we are activating internal resonators, mouth, sinuses, chest, that modulate the fundamental frequency generated by the vocal cords, imbuing it with the emotional energy of the heart, the seat of true intention. If that intention is pure and aligned with the universal will, the Logos itself, the word instantly becomes a materializing force, a laser beam that cuts and defines the cosmic clay. The voice, therefore, is not merely a means of transmitting information, but a vehicle for transferring organizing energy from the mental plane to the physical plane, a constant act of elemental magic that we perform unconsciously. The physics of Logos operates on the principle of perfect harmonic resonance. Just as a tuning fork of a specific frequency will vibrate another identical tuning fork without physical contact, our words, when attuned to the frequency of what we wish to manifest, be it health, abundance, or wisdom, establish a direct vibrational bridge. The difficulty lies in the fact that most human beings speak from a reactive state of consciousness, from subconscious programming, or from fear, thus creating a reality that perpetuates precisely those internal limitations. Spoken words, then, become a self-destructive feedback loop. Lack is verbalized as lack. Illness is named as illness. And the universe, which can only say yes to the frequency presented to it, reinforces that structure. Mastery of Logos requires stripping words of all self-imposed negative charge and beginning to speak from the plane of realization, using present tense language and affirming the existence of the desired reality before it visibly manifests. This is not self-deception, but a deep understanding that reality follows the vibratory command, not vice versa. The power of the voice as a creative code is demonstrated in the most ancient oral traditions, where the accurate preservation of myths and genealogies ensured the continuity of the social and cosmic structure. The word was sacred because each sound contained the seed of a form. Consider the act of naming. In many cultures, giving something a name, a person, a place, a spirit, was to confer upon it existence and destiny. Adam, in naming the creatures, was exercising his dominion over matter, not merely labeling it. When you name a limitation in your life, you give it existence. When you rename it as a learning opportunity or a transient state, you take away its substantial power. The Logos teaches us that language is an operating system where words are the programming commands. If your system is saturated with commands of error, I can't, it's impossible, the resulting manifestation will be an exact reflection of that faulty syntax. The purification of speech is, therefore, a deep cleansing of the source code of your reality, rewriting the narrative from the absolute authority of your higher self. Finally, the Logos establishes a hierarchy in the process of manifestation. Thought generates the idea, the spark. Emotion provides the energetic charge, the fuel, but it is the word, the precise articulation of sound, that gives it form and projects it into material density. Without the word, the vibrational bridge, the idea and emotion remain encapsulated in the ethereal plane, unable to take root. The act of speaking is the final seal, the signature on the contract with the cosmos, hence the importance of coherence, a topic we will explore in detail. A pure thought expressed with a powerful word, but without the corresponding feeling, dissipates like smoke, lacking the binding energy of the heart. The Logos demands tripartite alignment. The mind conceptualizes the form, the heart senses the frequency of that realized form, and the voice emits the carrier wave. Only when these three centers, mental, emotional, and vocal, operate in perfect unison does the word cease to be a simple sound and become the creative word. A force as powerful as the original "Let there be light," capable of altering the trajectory of particles and events. To truly understand the power of the Logos, we must descend from pure metaphysics to quantum physics and tangible vibration. Modern science, through theoretical physics and laboratory experimentation, has converged with the most ancient esoteric teachings. Solid matter is an illusion of the senses. The entire universe, at its most fundamental level, is a vast field of vibratory energy, an ocean of interconnected frequencies. Max Planck, the father of quantum physics, stated that matter as such does not exist, but rather vibratory forces that hold particles together. String theory goes further, postulating that the fundamental particles that make up the universe, electrons, quarks, are not points, but tiny strings, vibrating in multiple dimensions. Each of these strings produces a note, and the sum of these notes constitutes the cosmic symphony that we experience as reality. If everything is vibration, then sound, the mechanical pressure wave traveling through a medium, is the primary organizer of form. The world is not made of things, but of frozen tones. Cymatics, kymatic, from the Greek kyma, wave, is the discipline that offers visual and empirical proof of this principle. This science, popularized in the 20th century by the Swiss physician and scientist Hans Jenny, but with roots dating back to Ernst Chladni in the 18th century, is dedicated to the study of wave phenomena, showing how sound and vibration can organize inert matter into complex and defined geometric patterns. In cymatics experiments, fine particles, sand, powder, liquids, are placed on a plate or membrane connected to a frequency generator. As the pitch increases, the particles move chaotically until they reach a specific resonant frequency. At that instant, the chaos collapses and the particles instantly arrange themselves into stable and symmetrical figures. These patterns, the Chladni figures, are the visible manifestation of the standing wave of sound, revealing that the physical form is the direct echo of the audible frequency. Sound, therefore, is not simply heard, but seen and felt as the structuring force of matter. The most fascinating aspect of cymatics is the revelation that specific frequencies don't generate random figures, but rather replicate structures found in nature and sacred geometry. Pure harmonic tones can generate the flower of life pattern, the logarithmic spiral, or the basic forms of the Platonic solids, which are considered the geometric building blocks of the universe. This implies that the laws governing the formation of a cell, a galaxy, or even the structure of a quartz crystal are inherently musical and mathematical. If a simple electronically generated tone can compel inert sand to take the perfect shape of a mandala or a six-pointed star, what geometric power then resides in the modulated complexity of the human voice, capable of generating thousands of frequency nuances in a single breath? Cymatics provides us with undeniable evidence that the spoken word is, in essence, a computer-aided design program for reality. When you speak, you are dictating the geometry that quantum particles in your field of experience must adopt. The direct implication for our existence is profound. Our body, composed largely of water, is an organic cymatic system constantly influenced by external and internal vibrations. Dr. Masaru Emoto demonstrated that intention and sound modify the crystalline structure of water. Cymatics goes further, showing that the resonance of your voice directly affects the molecular organization of your tissues, your blood, and your DNA. Every thought, every emotion transduced into the sound of your voice is a pressure wave that travels through your system, either reinforcing or disrupting the internal coherence of your biology. A voice uttered with fear or anger generates chaotic and dissonant patterns that contribute to illness and disorder, while a voice modulated with love, gratitude, or pure affirmation generates harmonious and symmetrical patterns that promote healing and biological integrity. The voice not only shapes external reality, first, it becomes the sculptor of your own physical form. Understanding cymatics and logos is the tipping point where spirituality meets physics. It compels us to treat every vocalization not as a trivial act, but as the emission of a master code. If we wish to manifest a reality of order, health, and abundance, we must ensure that the frequency of our voice reflects that order. This requires mastery over emotional tuning, ensuring that the emitted frequency is consistent with genuine desire, a fundamental theme that will be explored in depth. Cymatics teaches us that the universe is inherently receptive and obedient to frequency. It does not discriminate between constructive and destructive noise. It simply takes the dominant vibrational wave and projects it into form. Our task, therefore, is to refine our vocal and emotional instrument, transforming the habitual sound into a resonance of mastery. In doing so, we become conscious conductors of the cosmic symphony, intentionally choosing the tones we wish to see manifested on the canvas of life. Sound not only creates, but sustains, and the quality of our vibrational support defines the quality of our existence. Now, before we proceed to a deeper understanding of the manifestation triad, the alignment of thought, feeling, and speech, I need you to reflect on this newly revealed truth. If the Logos is the ordering power, and cymatics demonstrates that sound creates geometric form, what conscious or unconscious patterns do you believe you have been imprinting on the matrix of your life through the constant repetition of your phrases and internal dialogues? What cymatic figures in your current reality are about to be dismantled and rewritten by your newfound understanding of the frequency of your own voice? We now delve into the heart of the creative process, the triad of manifestation, the inescapable alignment of mental intention, heart rate, and vibrational declaration. Thought is the map, feeling is the fuel, and the word is the launch code. If any of these three vertices is compromised, the geometry of manifestation is distorted, and the result is chronic frustration, a direct reflection of internal incoherence. It is not enough to desire in the prefrontal cortex if the brainstem and heart field radiate an opposing signal of doubt or unworthiness. The mind, acting as the architect of reality, must hold the image of desire with impeccable clarity, free from the contamination of the hows and whens. Its function is to establish the what with geometric precision. However, the mind is inherently dualistic. It is designed for judgment, risk analysis, and survival, which makes it an engine of self-sabotage if it operates without the guidance and high vibration of the heart. Mental intention without emotional resonance is static, a beautiful theory that never reaches the critical mass to collapse into matter. Feeling, originating in the electromagnetic field of the heart, is the quantum amplifier. It is proof that the mental intention has already been accepted as reality. The universe does not respond to your words, nor even to your thoughts. It responds to the carrier frequency of your dominant emotion. If you visualize wealth but feel the constriction of scarcity, scarcity is the dominant frequency that the unified field obeys. The coherence of feeling is the keystone of the entire process. The word, the Logos, serves as the hammer that seals the vibrational pact. It is the ultimate act of conscious faith that translates pure energy into a coded command for the material substrate. The word must be a resonant extension of coherent intention and feeling. A statement uttered but contradicted by inner turmoil is not a command, but a weak question that the universe ignores. Impeccability in language is the fundamental discipline of the master. When the triad operates in perfect synchronicity, it produces a harmonic pulse so powerful that it pierces the layers of resistance of perceived reality. It is the point where the observer merges with the observed, where the separation between desire and fulfillment dissolves. Our goal is not marginal improvement, but perfect resonance, a condition of total alignment where thought, feeling, and word are indistinguishable in their frequency. This demands the constant vigilance of the inner observer, transforming the chaotic inner dialogue into a symphony of manifestation. We enter the realm of emotional and heart coherence, where the science of the heart surpasses the logic of the brain. The heart, with its 40,000 sensory neurons, the brain of the heart, radiates a toroidal electromagnetic field up to 5,000 times more powerful than that generated by the head. This field is not passive. It is the primary antenna for transmitting and receiving your interaction with the quantum information field. Heart rate coherence is a measurable state characterized by a perfectly sinusoidal and ordered heart rate variability, HRV. In this state of biological order, the heart sends rhythmic and harmonious signals to the brain, which immediately deactivates the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight response, and optimizes cortical function. Physical coherence is the foundation for emotional coherence. Incoherence, on the other hand, chronic stress, fear, anger, produces an erratic, disordered HRV pattern, creating a noise signal that the body interprets as chaos. This noise not only disables higher brain function, but also radiates a low-power to low-information frequency into the universe, attracting more chaos and resistance to manifestation. Most people operate permanently at this static noise frequency. The true power of feeling lies not in superficial intensity, but in the duration and quality of the sustained frequency. Appreciation, gratitude, and unconditional love are not ethereal spiritual concepts. They are high-resonance frequencies that, when maintained consistently, have the capacity to reorganize matter around them. They are the biophysical manifestation of absolute faith. The intentional modulation of heart coherence, achieved through specific focused breathing techniques and the deliberate evocation of elevated emotions, is the master's daily practice. This is not a self-help trick. It is the direct application of biophysics to govern one's own energy field, and by extension influence the external field. Control of the heart is control of destiny. I've taught you to seek coherence, light, and high frequency. But here's the uncomfortable truth few mentors dare to utter. Your patterns of suffering and self-sabotage aren't mere biological errors or moral failings. They are, in fact, remarkably efficient control systems. Emotional density, fear, guilt, shame acts as a programmed gravitational anchor in your subconscious, not by evolutionary accident, but by an architecture of reality that requires resilience for its very existence. When you self-sabotage, you're not failing. You're obeying a density maintenance subroutine. Your real challenge isn't being happy, but dismantling obedience to the implanted code. Coherence is only achieved when you recognize the exact nature of your vibrational prison. Now, we must delve into subconscious programming, the operating core of 95% of your mind. The subconscious doesn't reason. It doesn't judge. It simply accepts the data presented to it as absolute truth and executes it through habits. If your core programming tells you that you are unworthy or that life is a struggle, no matter how much your conscious 5% meditates or affirms, the 95% will methodically sabotage any attempt at success to maintain the consistency of the master program. The gateway to this vast repository of programs is the theta frequency, 4-8 Hz, the brain state that dominates in early childhood and is fleetingly reproduced at the threshold between wakefulness and sleep, or in states of deep meditation or hypnosis. While the conscious mind, beta gamma, acts as a critical and skeptical guardian, in theta, the subconscious is open, malleable, and ready to accept new directives without logical objection. The difficulty in changing childhood patterns lies in this early programming. Fundamental agreements about identity and worth were established when the brain was a receptive sponge in a permanent theta state, lacking the filter of adult judgment. To rewrite these primary agreements, we must return to that frequency and apply the logos with the heart's coherent emotional charge, overlaying the new program with a higher vibrational force. Reprogramming is not achieved through the superficial repetition of mantras. It requires the creation of a surrogate experience, so vivid, so saturated with highly coherent emotion that the body cannot distinguish between visualization and physical reality. By doing this, the body, which is the subconscious, begins to register the new reality as a past and completed event, creating new neural connections that override the old self-sabotaging circuits. The subconscious mind only responds to amplified emotion. If you want to install a program of abundance, you must generate the emotion you would feel after that abundance has arrived. This is manifestation working in reverse. Emotion creates physical reality. It's the technique of feeling gratitude for what already is, before the event manifests on the linear timeline, defying logic but obeying quantum law. Finally, the biochemistry of emotion reveals the physical chain of command that seals our patterns. Thought, when processed, triggers the release of neuropeptides, the molecules of emotion which travel through the bloodstream. These molecules are the fuel and the command signal for every cell in the body. If you constantly think about fear, your hypothalamus creates and releases cocktails of fear neuropeptides. Candace Pert demonstrated that receptors on the surface of cells adapt to dominant emotions. If you feed on chronic stress, your cells develop more receptors for stress neuropeptides. This is cellular addiction. The body becomes physiologically dependent on its own habitual misery, seeking the familiar chemical dose of suffering to maintain its morbid homeostasis. When you try to introduce a positive change, a thought of joy or peace, the body enters a state of biochemical withdrawal. The receptors, deprived of their chemical dose of pain, send signals of discomfort to the brain, which the conscious mind often interprets as a justification for reverting to the old pattern. This is too difficult. It won't work. Resistance to change is fundamentally a physiological addiction. Mastering the emotional field requires intentionally interrupting this signaling cycle. Through heart coherence, we saturate the system with high-frequency neuropeptides, gratitude, appreciation, compelling cells to dismantle old fear receptors and create new ones. This process is temporarily uncomfortable, a period of cellular detoxification where the chemical identity of the past struggles to survive. Thought is a biochemical act with immediate physical consequences. Every time you hold a heightened emotion in a coherent state, you are forcing your body into a new homeostasis. The path to conscious manifestation is perseverance through the biochemical withdrawal crisis, until the body becomes the obedient slave of the coherent mind, and not the other way around. We've revealed that your suffering habits aren't flaws, but sophisticated control systems to which your biology has become addicted. Now that you understand your body chemically demands the repetition of your past, your family drama, your financial fears, your self-sabotage, and that this demand is the greatest barrier to coherent manifestation, are you willing to experience the withdrawal and biological chaos of emotional detox? Knowing that the body, not the ego, is your greatest saboteur. The triad of manifestation is not a spiritual abstraction, but the precise alignment of three bioelectromagnetic vectors. The first is conscious thought, the crystalline intention that must be freed from all duality. This requires a radical cleansing of the internal narrative, where the observer ceases to be the victim of past circumstances and becomes the architect of future reality. If your intention is tainted by doubt, or if the formulation is a plea to the future rather than an affirmation of the present, the field does not accept the signal and the energy dissipates as internal resistance. The linguistic precision of the intention is the first and most brutal filter. The second vector is elevated emotion, the frequency generated by the heart. Mental intention is merely a guideline. Emotion is the raw power. If your thinking about your new financial reality is based on the frequency of past scarcity, fear, anxiety, the message you send to the quantum field is contradictory. Gratitude, appreciation, and fulfillment are not just pleasant feelings. They are high-amplitude wavelengths necessary to generate the most powerful toroidal field around the body, which acts as the physical projector of reality. The heart is the transmitter, and if the signal is incoherent, the universe receives only static noise. The third vector is focused will, deliberate action combined with absolute detachment. This is the lightning rod that allows the energy of desire to condense on the physical plane without being blocked by anxiety about the outcome. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means such unwavering faith in the inevitability of manifestation that the need to control the process, the how, disappears. Action becomes inspired, not forced. If you maintain the neurotic need to verify every step, you are sending a signal of scarcity and mistrust, cancelling the first two vectors of the triad. The simultaneity of these three vectors is what we call unified field coherence. Most manifestation attempts fail because individuals maintain clear intention for only a few minutes, heightened emotion only until the first frustration arrives, and detachment breaks down at the first sign of adversity. Manifestation requires sustaining the state of being, the identity of the person who already has what they desire, until the physical field synchronizes. This is an act of pure energetic discipline, a struggle against the biochemical inertia of the programmed self. This alignment process is not metaphorical, it is pure physics. Intention focused on the neocortex, saturated with heart coherence, high-amplitude HRV, allows the body's cells to resonate with an identical signal. When the trillions of cells in your biology stop emitting chemical signals from the past and begin vibrating in the pattern of your chosen future, you become a source of resonance that literally organizes the surrounding matter. The triad is the engineering of the self to become a perfectly tuned biological magnet, capable of attracting whatever is on its same wavelength. Emotional and cardiac coherence, in its most technical form, is the intentional manipulation of heart rate variability, HRV. We are not talking about a state of subjective calm, but rather a sinusoidal pattern, ordered and harmonious in the time between heartbeats. An incoherent state resembles a chaotic and jagged wave, typical of stress and fear, which disrupts communication between the heart and the brain. Cardiac coherence, on the other hand, creates a carrier wave of such magnitude that it optimizes neural, hormonal, and chemical flow, establishing an ordered dialogue between the limbic system and the neocortex. This ordered rhythm maximizes the power of the heart's toroidal electromagnetic field, which can be measured from several meters away from the body. This field is not merely a byproduct of emotion, but an active transmitter of energetic information. A coherent heart amplifies the signal of intention, the first vector, allowing the information encoded in thought to acquire the necessary power to interact with the quantum field. Coherence transforms weak desire into a physical instruction for the universe. Neurobiology demonstrates that the heart, possessing its own little brain, the cardiac ganglion, sends more information to the higher brain than it receives. When the heart signal is ordered, it sends a message of safety, wholeness, and appreciation to the brain's emotional and rational centers, silencing survival alarms and allowing access to states of creativity and expanded perception. In this state of inner order, the mind ceases to be the guardian of past trauma and becomes the navigator of future potential. You must understand something fundamental that morality-based systems of thought often obscure. The law of manifestation, the law of vibration, is completely impersonal. There is no moral judgment in the quantum field. Perfect coherence, the alignment of the triad, will manifest absolutely anything, whether it's what society labels as good or evil. If an individual achieves flawless coherence while maintaining a destructive intention with a high emotional frequency, for example, sadistic pleasure or unbridled ambition, that reality will manifest just as effectively as an altruistic desire. Physics doesn't distinguish between ethics and reality. The only reason evil or chaos rarely achieve sustained manifestation is because low-frequency emotions like hatred, revenge, or fear, by their very nature, introduce stochastic noise and internal dissonance, making it nearly impossible to maintain heart coherence. Suffering is the self-correcting mechanism that prevents chaotic intentions from manifesting on a massive scale. Subconscious programming is the true battleground. The conscious mind, 5% of your capacity, can set the intention, but it is the subconscious mind, 95%, that houses the operating programs and biochemical habits that determine your automatic vibrational field. The subconscious is literal, not logical, and its language is intense emotions and sustained repetition. As long as the critical mind, the barrier between the 5% and the 95%, is active, any new intention will be rejected as a lie. To introduce new programming, we must circumvent or temporarily deactivate the critical factor. This is achieved by exposing the subconscious to information in low brainwave states, such as the theta or delta states, just before sleep or immediately upon waking. At these thresholds, the critical mind relaxes and the subconscious becomes malleable. It is here that the repetition of the affirmation, no longer as a hope but as a sensory truth, is directly imprinted on the operating system. The subconscious mind doesn't understand future time. If you say, "I am going to be abundant," the programming registers. Abundance is something that will happen in the future, not now. The only accepted language is the immediate sensory declaration, "I am abundant now, and I feel the gratitude of that abundance in my body." This must be linked to a vivid sensory image, compelling the body to experience the chemistry of manifestation before it actually happens. Persistence in this reprogramming leads to a measurable phenomenon called neuroplasticity. Each time the new truth is repeated, a myelin sheath forms around the new neural connection, strengthening the circuit and making the future-oriented thought the default. Manifestation doesn't happen when you wish it to. It happens when the subconscious has fully adopted the new program, transforming it into an automatic habit of being. If the programming is successful, the subconscious mind automatically activates the appropriate emotion biochemistry. Every thought generates a peptide, a chain of amino acids that acts as a chemical messenger. Thoughts of fear generate cortisol and adrenaline peptides. Thoughts of gratitude generate oxytocin and dopamine peptides. Your body's cells are covered in receptors waiting for these messengers. If you constantly dwell on drama, your body develops an overpopulation of low-frequency receptors, addicted to that toxic chemistry. The goal of manifestation is to reverse engineer this addiction. You must intentionally generate the biochemistry of dopamine, reward, and oxytocin, connection and security, through thought alone, without relying on external events. This saturates cellular receptors with a new chemical signature, forcing the cell to dismantle old cortisol receptors and create new receptors for pleasure and fulfillment. This is the physical process of detoxification and biological renewal. This conscious manipulation of your internal chemical state negates the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect occurs when the body deteriorates simply because the mind believes it will. Conscious manifestation is the deliberate use of the placebo effect, not only to cure an illness, but to create an entire reality. You are using the power of your belief system to compel your endocrine system to release the exact chemicals of the future you desire, causing your body to become the physical evidence of that reality before you even see it with your own eyes. Mastery lies in using the body as an alchemical laboratory. Coherent breathing and intentional body posture become direct levers for the release of these neuropeptides. By controlling your breath, you control your autonomic nervous system. And by controlling your autonomic nervous system, you dictate which chemistry will predominate in your bloodstream, closing the feedback loop of the triad. Manifestation is not a request. It is a sustained biochemical condition. We have lifted the curtain on your own biology and revealed that manifestation is an act of electromagnetic and biochemical engineering. Completely impersonal and devoid of morality. You now know that the only limiting factor is your inability to sustain the perfect coherence of the triad without the subconscious program, addicted to its drama chemistry, sabotaging the signal. If the law is blind to ethics and only responds to the coherent frequency, are you willing to face the full responsibility of being the sole creator of your reality, accepting that your suffering is the direct result of internal incoherence and not of fate or external injustice? Finally, we reach the pinnacle of understanding, the point where the triad dissolves into a single, unified truth. The universe is not a warehouse of wishes waiting to be granted, but a perfect resonator, an instantaneous vibrational mirror that can reflect nothing but the frequency you consistently hold. External reality is simply the three-dimensional hologram projected by the electromagnetic signature of your heart and brain, a delayed manifestation of the energy you radiated days or weeks ago. Manifestation, then, is an impersonal law of resonance. The illusion of separation between observer and observed disintegrates. You are not asking something of the field. You are the field. And by holding the pure frequency of the desired reality through inner coherence, clear thought, and elevated emotion, you compel the waves of potentiality to collapse into the particle that proves your inner state. The process is as infallible as gravity, responding only to the quality and consistency of your energy emission. Enlightenment lies in understanding that internal dissonance is the only thing keeping unwanted reality in place. If your thought, electrical charge, says prosperity, but your emotion, magnetic charge, driven by fear-addicted biochemistry, says scarcity, the incoherence cancels out the signal, and the mirror has no choice but to reflect chaos. The triad, when perfectly aligned, creates a carrier wave of such power that it overcomes the quantum noise of the matrix of limitation. The body, having been transformed in the alchemical laboratory, no longer seeks evidence in the external world to feel good, but instead produces the chemistry of the desired reality before it appears, making the organism the biophysical anchor of that new reality. This is the mastery of the unified field. You no longer chase reality. You radiate it from an unchanging state of being, and the universe, like a servant obedient to vibrational law, serves it back in material form. The magnetic key to this perfect reflection is sustained emotion. The universe responds exponentially to the depth of your emotional conviction, which should not be confused with hope or needy desire. Conviction is the unwavering certainty that comes from gratitude, felt for something not yet visible to the physical eye. This gratitude is the highest vibrational signature, proof that the being has transcended dependence on sensory evidence and accepted reality in the immaterial realm. This emotion is the magnet that organizes subatomic particles. Thought initiates the wave, but sustained emotion bends space-time. If you can hold the frequency of abundance, unconditional love, and perfect health, regardless of what the immediate environment reflects, you are operating from sovereignty, compelling the mirror to change its image. Any reality that persists and is unwanted is simply proof of a subconscious chemical addiction, a residual frequency that is still being emitted and reflected. This understanding compels us to abandon the victim narrative. If the universe is a perfect mirror, then all suffering, all observed limitations are precise feedback of an internally sustained inconsistency. There is no cruel fate or external injustice. There is only vibrational law. Enlightenment is not a mystical event. It is an act of radical responsibility where the Creator accepts that their world is a perfect extension of their prevailing inner state. The Master no longer looks to the world to decide how to feel. They look to their inner state to dictate what the world should reflect. The ultimate task is to maintain that coherence uninterrupted, despite the ego's attempts and the body's chemical programs to draw it back into the familiarity of drama. Matrix disruption is achieved by refusing to resonate with any frequency that does not serve the highest potential of one's being. By integrating the triad, mind, purpose, heart, magnet, body, biochemical evidence, you become the unified field generator you were always meant to be. Manifestation is the natural side effect of being in an elevated and coherent state. The vibrational mirror of the universe cannot lie. If you radiate sovereignty, you will receive sovereignty. If you radiate wholeness, you will receive the evidence of wholeness. The universe is the constant answer to the question your state of being is posing. Look at your current life, your wealth, your relationships. That is the report of your current frequency. The only action required from now on is to hold the truth of your new reality, moment by moment, breath by breath, until the mirror has no choice but to reflect the fullness of your splendor. This is the final synthesis. Reality is the physical evidence of your inner coherence. The only distance between you and the reality you desire is not time or difficulty, but the frequency gap created by your sustained emotional addiction to the chemistry of the past. Complete sovereignty over your existence is achieved the moment you break that addiction and accept, without a shadow of a doubt, that you are not a drop in the ocean, but the ocean in a drop, and that the field of potentiality does not exist outside the consciousness you radiate. Now that the law has been revealed, and you know that your suffering is optional and completely self-generated, what is the first, immediate and irrevocable frequency that you commit to holding today, knowing that the universe is already listening to the silence of your coherently aligned heart? This transmission is useless if wisdom remains stagnant. Expanding this consciousness is part of your mission. If the knowledge shared here resonated with the deepest truth of your being, declare its expansion. Share this portal with those who are ready to break free from the matrix. Activate the sacred destiny of this channel and ensure your direct access to future revelations. Your commitment to expansion is an act of gratitude that amplifies your own frequency. We have understood the law. It is time to apply it directly to the creation of material form. The next portal opens to the engineering of sustained abundance. Prepare for awakening the code of eternal abundance, the science of intentional wealth.